Do you want to know the Oblate?
Discover our life and mission.
Join us!
So that's the question we ask this afternoon. What is in the heart of man? This is in preparation for tonight's sacrament of penance. And remember what I said at the beginning of this retreat. What do you think will happen if you allow God to enter your heart, even in those areas of your heart where you yourself do not want to enter? I propose 3 points for meditation. 4. First, Lord, what is there in us that prevents us from building a true community? Too preoccupied with ourselves. What prevents us from recognizing the needy, numb to the anguish of the poor? And what prevents us from establishing authentic relationships, using others for my own advantage? So these are points for meditation for us as we prepare for the sacrament of penance. What is there in the heart of man? What is there in our hearts? The response to these questions is given in triple form. There is in each of us the man David. And the description of this man is found in the second book of Samuel, chapters 11 and 12. So if you have time this afternoon, you can read chapters 11 and 12. The second response is there is in each of us all that is in the heart of man, described in Mark 7, 21 to 22. And third, there is in each of us, religious and committed man, the antithesis presented in Matthew 5:20 to 48. I will only focus on the first one. I leave the second and the third to you. So let's begin. The story of David may be described as a story of human ambiguity, the ambiguity of human existence. We are all familiar with the story of David because it's interesting. And from a literary point of view, the story of David and Bathsheba is probably one of the most beautiful stories in the Old Testament. Sorry for the grammar. These chapters are also called the Annals of David. And biblical scholars tell us that it's definitely an ancient story. It is stylistically a masterpiece. It is psychologically sound, with subtle humor behind every word. It is that good. So we see David in that story as a man of great achievement. He has achieved that achievement, that status. And as a warrior, he need not go to war, but he sends others instead. In other words, he is at the height of his career. Basically, David is a pious man. David is someone who loves Yahweh so much so that many of the written Psalms are attributed to him. He is also a man who is fundamentally good, who desires no evil, even against the enemies. And you're familiar with that story when Saul was running after him, he ran away, and he hid himself in a cave, and he was really inside the cave. And Saul entered that cave, but just at the entrance to relieve himself. And so his friends were like, this is the right time. This is it. You can kill him. Huh? You can kill him. And he did not. He simply took a piece of his cloak without Saul knowing it. And when Saul left, he called him and showed him the piece of cloth, saying, I could have killed you, but I did not. A man who is loyal and trustworthy. Remember, there's a nice picture here. You see, he's saying, today is the day. His soldiers were telling him, his companions were telling him, today is the day in which Yahweh said to you, I shall deliver your enemy into your power. Do what you like with him. Kill him. And what did David say? Yahweh preserve me from doing such a thing to my Lord as to raise my hand against him, since he is Yahweh's anointed. He would not harm him, even if Saul's goal and objective is to kill him. He would not raise a hand against Saul because he's Yahweh's anointed. And you know the story, how he was anointed. Samuel anoints David in secret. Yahweh asks Samuel to look for someone to replace Saul because Saul has become deranged, because of envy and jealousy. And so Samuel visits Bethlehem and talks to Jesse and paraded his sons. And when Samuel saw Eliab, he rejected him. But Samuel said, but he is so handsome. He's so tall. He's the one. And Yahweh told Samuel, do not judge from his appearance or from his lofty stature. God does not see as mortal who sees the appearance. The Lord looks into the heart. And then David was presented. And the description is so funny. He says, he has a ruddy, in other words, he has a very reddish cheeks. He's youthful, with beautiful eyes, and he's good looking. He's a musician. He's a dancer. In other words, he's not a warrior. But how can that be? The answer is simple. He has a right heart. He has a right heart. Now we go to the tragic night. One evening, David rose from his bed and strolled about on the roof, and he saw a woman bathing. She was very beautiful. And this thought came to his mind. What am I in power for? Am I not king? Can I not do what I want? Are not everyone my subject? The thought. That's why it's very, very dangerous to be praying your breviary in the evening and looking everywhere. Stick to the breviary. And so what happened? You know what happened? They spent the night together, and after, I don't know how long, Howard pala, I don't know how long. Howard knows everything. That's what I discovered from Howard. He's a genius. He knows everything. He has a theory for everything. Okay? So, he says, nobody saw, nobody knows, nobody knows, nothing. Until Bathsheba came to him and says, I am pregnant. It's that. And David says, what have I done? I have not only violated a woman, I have insulted her husband, and worse, I have violated their marriage. And now, I shall be exposed to the public. The great king, the pious king, will now be maligned by his own people. That's where he is now. Just like that, things have changed. Now, David loves Bathsheba. He loves the child about to be born. And he loves Uriah because Uriah is his loyal soldier. And he loves himself. But these four loves don't go together. So David finds himself in a situation where he could not avoid doing evil, where he could not possibly liberate himself from the trap without sacrificing one of them. This situation, this is a descriptive situation of man's fragility that can rapidly change from a situation of tranquility to a situation in which there seems to be no clear direction. In other words, no way out. No way out. And what happens? The development of the story. David is described as becoming more and more destructive and malicious in his thoughts. First, he tells Uriah, "Go down to your house and bathe your feet." It means have sex with your wife. So if that happens, and the child is born, nobody will be suspicious. But that did not happen. Uriah did not go home. Then, second, David said to Uriah, "Go down to your house and wash your feet." But Uriah did not go down to his house. At David's invitation, he ate and drank with him. And David made him drunk, but he did not go home. That is the second attack. He made him drunk. The first time he just told him to go home. This time he made him drunk and would go home. But Uriah did not go home. Every time I come across this, I always suspected Uriah knew something. Uriah had suspicion. But he could not confront David because David is the king and he's just a soldier. So, third attempt. David sent a letter to Joab through Uriah. Place Uriah up front where the fighting is fierce. Then pull back and leave him to be struck down. Dead. Can you imagine how malicious and evil that thought is? You give the death sentence to the very person whom you want to be killed. He gave Uriah that letter to be given to Joab. He had to connive with another person to do what he wanted. Joab instructed the messenger when he received the letter and Uriah exactly what David wanted. He was placed up front and then they pulled back and Uriah was killed by the enemy. And then Joab tells the messenger, "When you have finished giving the king this account of the battle and the king's anger may flare up," he knew David. He knew the temper of David. He will go into screaming and shouting and tantrum. Then he says, when he does that, tell him Uriah is dead. So the messenger went there. And so the messenger says, "We lost the battle. We lost." And David went to a rage. And then the messenger says, "Uriah is dead." And David could not hide his mind. In his malicious plan, the worst in David is exposed. In his astuteness, he tried to save only himself. For David, what's in his mind? Someone must pay. I do not want to sacrifice the woman. I do not want to sacrifice the child. Neither am I ready to pay the price. Someone else must take the consequence. And it is Uriah. In other words, David is confronted with the truth about himself. A truth that is hidden even from himself. This is in many ways disturbing and frightening. Because there are truths about ourselves that we ourselves do not know. And it takes something like this to happen in our life to find out the truth about ourselves. Truth that we ourselves do not know. So David, the great king, could not hide his joy because his lie has come to a full circle. He saved his face, he saved his precious fame, and he saved his prestige. Then Nathan went to David and told the parable. You're familiar with the parable. And at the end of the parable, because David was also in a rage because of the parable, and Nathan said, "That man is you." And he collapses and says, "I have sinned against God." He did not say, "I have sinned against Uriah." He did not say, "I have sinned against Bathsheba." He did not say, "I have sinned against the child." He sinned against God. Why? Because at the heart of every human relationship, is God. When a relationship is destroyed or broken or shattered, it is God who is hurt. God is at the heart of every relationship. The Lord, he says now, the Lord can do anything he wants with me because I have sinned. In other words, the moment David announces his sins, his pretenses, and acknowledges his sinfulness before God, he recovers his freedom. He regains his strength to accept his situation and becomes capable of looking once again straight into another person's eye. David allows himself to be purified by God. God asked him only one thing. He did not ask him to do penance, to feed the whole people of Jerusalem for 1 year. If God asked that, he would probably do it. He did not ask him to walk on his knees in Baclaran or Quiapo. Nothing. God asked only one thing from him, that he acknowledges his sin. That's all that God asks of David, and that's all that God asks of us. Let me just say a few words about the second response, because this is interesting, but this is very short. From the heart of man comes evil intentions. From Mark 7:21-22. For it is from within, from the heart, that evil intentions emerge. Fornication, theft, murder, adultery, avarice, malice, deceit, indecency, envy, slander, pride, and folly. All these evil things come from within and make a person unclean. Did you notice? Mark did not say evil actions. He says evil intentions. Evil intentions do not surface when the situation is tranquil. Look at those OFWs who are now in jail for murdering their masters. They went there to sacrifice their life to support their family. And where their amos tried to rape them, they kill. That whoever she is never thought for a single second that she's capable of committing murder. Evil intentions do not surface when the situation is tranquil. Rather, the situation facilitated the emergence of such profound misery that is present in the heart of David. It is from within, from the heart, that evil intentions arise. From this chapter, Mark 7, came the reflection of Evagrius of Pontus on the 8 evil thoughts, which is the seed of 7 capital sins: fornication, theft, murder, adultery, avarice, malice, deceit, indecency, slander, envy, pride, and folly. 12 in all. I'd like you this afternoon to reflect on each of these negative seeds enumerated in Mark 7:21 to 22. That we all carry within us, all of us carry these seeds. And not excuse ourselves saying, oh, well, that seed, no, definitely not. Yeah, maybe this seed. No. In truth, all of them apply to us. We are all capable of doing those things.